So I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and this is the largest city in North Carolina and the 15th largest city in the United States as far as population goes. And I should have looked up the area of ground it covers, because this is a sprawling area that this city covers. It's a large area that it covers. The population here is 923,000, and it's been rising quickly, just like a lot of other cities in North Carolina. People are moving here. People want to be a part of this state. It declined like a lot of cities did in 2020, but it dropped for that year, and then it started growing right back up. I don't know what's going on with all these people walking on the side of the road. And we're on North Tryon Street, for those that like to know what roads we're on. So this city is 40% white, 35% black, 16% Hispanic, and 6% Asian. So it's fairly diverse, and those numbers are pretty much what you see in cities in North Carolina, those similar demographics as that. What are we doing here, people? All right. Don't know what they were doing, but they were stopping there for no reason. Doing some work on the buildings. Possible homeless person walking. Homeless person area underneath the bridge there. Another homeless person laying in front of that building. So we've barely been in the city, and there's a lot of homeless people already. The average age here is 34. And 14% of the population of the adults are seniors. So it's a young population, and there isn't a lot of older people that live in this city. Like every city basically in North Carolina, it seems like the male-female ratio's off. It's 48% male here to 52% female. That's been the same with pretty much every city in North Carolina that I've looked up. They all have more females than males. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I looked up what the United States is, because I keep coming across this. The United States has slightly more females than males, but it's like 50.4 or something like that females. So it's like barely more females. It's not like this, 48% to 52%. So I don't know what it is with certain areas of the country, why they have so many more females than they do males, but it's something I've been coming across a lot, at least in North Carolina, and kind of in the South, kind of. It seems like that. So maybe it's a Southern thing. There's a 52% homeownership rate here, which is 17% lower than the national average. But any city that's over 50% homeownership is doing pretty good. Of a larger city, the less people that are renting, the better the city will be, in my opinion anyway. If people have a stake in the city, they can't just come in, destroy it, and leave. They've bought a house there. It's more of a permanent thing, where renters are a little more transient and they're moving from one place to another. The median home value here is $235,000, which is 27% higher than the national average. And the median rent is around $1,200 a month, which is 25% higher. So living here, the cost of living here for your residence, for wherever you live, is going to be higher than most other places. And also probably higher than other cities just in North Carolina as well. The average income's around $50,000 a year, which is pretty good. There's a 12% poverty rate, which is actually really good. Typically it's a lot higher than that. Typically it'd be, at least like in the upper teens for a city this size. So that's really good. There's a 41% marriage rate, which doesn't sound like very high, for adults, but it's higher than most cities. Squeaky wheels. You can just drive on these tracks here like this. All right. So 41% of the people that live here were born here. And because it's a city that is growing rapidly, that's probably the reason why. Because that's a really low number to have that few of your residents being people that were either grew up here or grew up in the state of North Carolina. They show 17% of the residents are foreign born and 11% non-citizens. So that 11% non-citizen number is probably actually much higher. If they're claiming 11%, that's actually kind of a big number of percent of your population to be not citizens of the United States. The violent crime here is 102% higher than the national average, which is right in around that regular city bad level. It's kind of what you'd expect. Property crime, 73%. And that's about what you'd expect, regular city bad levels as well. The murder rates here are kind of low. I mean, it has a larger population, so it's the same with like New York City. New York City, the murder rate is like 5% or something. It's super low, but they have a lot of people, and obviously the population here is nowhere near that of New York City. But the larger the population, the lower the murder rate, unless you have a ton. Because even the murder rate in Chicago is only 22, which you would think it would be much higher. The assault rates is around 562, and that's per 100,000 people. And that is pretty much right around the same as what Chicago has. So I mean, it's not a huge number. Cities like Baltimore are in the 900s, so it's not a huge number, but it's definitely not a good number either. They got a lot of nice big trees though for the downtown. Are you looking at these trees? These are big trees for them to have left in downtown. It's real. The whole state of North Carolina, I got to tell you, at least as much of it as I've seen, they have a lot of trees, and they were very respectful of the trees. They didn't just go through and turn everything into a concrete jungle like a lot of places would do. Especially this downtown. These are large trees for a downtown to be right along the sidewalk in a downtown. And look at these big trees in this park. Holy cow! Yeah, I like the way North Carolina has done this as far as how they've constructed the cities in the state. They literally were very, in my opinion, very respectful of the land, and they didn't just come in and just clear everything out and put up a bunch of buildings and pour cement everywhere. They really went through, and I mean, we're still in the downtown, and look at all these big huge nice trees. I mean, this is really nice. You don't see this in a lot of cities. It ranks in the bottom 10% for crime in the United States. And it's considered one of the most unsafe cities in America. But if you do it on a per capita basis, it ranks in there with, you know, all of them that are around this size. So it's not, it probably is. I mean, when they say that, they're grouping a whole bunch of cities together. But there's just so many cities in America that are bad that, you know. Your odds of becoming a victim of a crime here are 1 in 25, which sounds like a high number. 1 in 25 or a low number, however you want to look at it. But it's kind of just typical of a city. 1 in 25, 1 in 22. The really bad cities will be 1 in 8 or 9. Those are the ones you really need to look out for. 1 in 25, you just, you know, be on alert, keep your head on a swivel, and you should be okay. The year-over-year crime here is showing an increase of 5%, which for a city this size, it's not gonna like really break them by any means, but let these people cross. But it's still something you have to keep an eye on, because 5% for 1 year, okay, fine. Maybe they bring it down the next year and 40 or whatever. So the property crime here is just as bad. That's 475% higher than the national average. So if you don't get assaulted, you're likely get something you own stolen. The theft rates range from 5,000 to over 10,000 per 100,000 people. That is really high, and they go up and down every year.